weeks to go, let the games begin. It's a fantasy league. Gonna make some noise within. Got my team assembled, ready to take the crown. I'll dominate this league, tear it down to the ground. I've got my strikers up top, ready to score the goals. Midfield maestro in the show, control the flow. Defensive wall standing tall, won't let them through. Goalkeeper with the gloves, gonna save me too. 38 weeks to go, gonna rule this game. I'm the boss, yeah, I'll take fame with my fantasy team. Gonna rise to the top, no one can stop me. Gonna make them drop.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to 38 Weeks to Go, your weekly podcast about fantasy football. Gameweek 3 is done, and we have 35 weeks left to go. I am your host, Nash, and let's get into it. Gameweek 3. How did it go for you? I was just going over the table, and I was looking at one of my friends' teams. He doesn't have any Liverpool player, and he doesn't have Haaland. So you can guess how far below he is. Now, Haaland, Haaland. If you don't have him now, you better be compensating with some Diaz / Salah points. Otherwise, what are you doing? What more do you need to see to be convinced that Haaland is great and Haaland delivers? At least for now. As you will be aware of, or if you do not know, there's an international break for the next 2 weeks. So I'm going to split this podcast into two. This episode is just going to be a review of the weekend that passed. And then closer to the day, I am going to have a preview pod for the week that will be upcoming. In between, I will try to look for the weekly leader or the monthly leader, whichever one I am able to get. If I am able to get none of them, well, then that will just be that. Let's look at the top performers of the week. As we all know, defense was not king this weekend. With one clean sheet, the top goalkeeper this weekend was Alisson Becker from Liverpool, followed by Verbruggen for Brighton, then Henderson and Pope, all tied at 4. And then for number 5, you have Kepa, Flecken, Leno, Muric and Johnston, who all had 3. Very poor for the keepers this weekend. When it comes to defenders, the top defender was Digne, Davis, and Sugawara, who all had 7. Keane from Everton had 6, tied with Alexander-Arnold, Konate, Robertson, and Lewis. The top 5 midfielders are Salah, who got 17, Luis Diaz, who had 15, Mbeumo, who got 14, Sinisterra, who got 11, and Eze, who got 10. Onana, Adama, and Javi Barnes got 9. When it comes to forwards, Haaland leads the way with 17. Calvert-Lewin has 12. Then Isak and Wood are tied for 3rd and 4th with 9. And then you have Havertz, Wissa, João Pedro tied for 8. I did well this week, not as well as last week. I got 85 points. Well, majority of that is simply because I just captain obvious. I captained Haaland. He gave me 34. Isak gave me 9. Wood gave me 9. Luis Diaz gave me 15. Bernardo Silva gave me 7. Gordon gave me 2. Bruno Fernandes gave me 2. Ben White 2. Mazri 1. Vardiol 2. Raya 2. The defense was not king this weekend. At this point, when I look at my team, it's really Bruno Fernandes who I still don't know how to explain how he's still there. But if I've held on to him this long, I'm now reaching that sunken cost fallacy where I'm like, well, if I held him through the Liverpool game, why not through the Southampton game? It doesn't make any sense to remove him now. The time to remove him was before the Man U game. And now I just have to see if he can do well against lower opposition. There was only one clean sheet this weekend, and that fell into the game which was the marquee game. Manchester United 0, Liverpool 3. Luis Diaz has a combination of Casemiro and Salah to thank for those points that he got. Casemiro is only 32 years old, but if you didn't know, you'd think he's 40. He's looking like he's older than Thiago Silva. The most wild thing about that game is that you wouldn't believe that Slot has had 3 games of Premier League with Liverpool, while Ten Hag has had 3 seasons. It looks reversed. It looks like Liverpool are where they want to be, and Man U look like they're still starting their transition. From a fantasy perspective, if you are hedging or betting against Salah, having Luis Diaz so far has been great for people like me because he has been compensating for the points lost. However, if you have the Jota, you're not doing too well, and I'm sorry. And I was in your position in week 1 where I was like, okay, I need to get rid of Diaz and get into Jota. But then I was like, no, let me just give it 2 more weeks. Thank goodness I did. At this point in time, Liverpool have kept the most clean sheets. So they are solid so far at the back. And then you have Luis Diaz and Salah. So I would say pick one of those two or triple up. Get Salah, Diaz, and then maybe Trent or Robertson or Virgil van Dijk or whoever you can afford. From the other side, Manchester United have not been impressive. It was really hard to see where they were going to get anything from. To be fair, Rashford did create 2 good chances for Mr. Zexi. I don't know if the start was too soon, but he could have had at least 1 goal. Manchester United were unconvincing against Fulham, disappointing against Brighton, embarrassed against Liverpool. From a fantasy perspective, the only good thing they had going on was the possibility of a clean sheet or like Mazrui having an assist. They just simply seem like the team that they were last season. New players, same old thing. So it probably means that we will get Onana/defender points and a random Fernandes and maybe Garnacho points. But it's not clear what they want to do. They still don't look like a team. My friend who was talking about earlier, who's done nothing, is a Man U fan, and he has gone heavily into Man U. And there lies in the danger. This is not a game for heart. Do not play with your heart. Just play logically. And for me, this Southampton game is my last chance for Bruno. After that, he's done. And for you people who have 2 to 3 of them, please start reconsidering your options. Salah got the 3 bonus points, Luis Diaz got 2, and Alisson got 1. The second biggest game was Newcastle 2, Spurs 1. Now, like I'd said previously, in this fixture, the home team wins. That held to be true, but it was not straightforward by any means. Newcastle were the second best team for the longest part of that game. In some ways, they were lucky to win, but football doesn't favor those who deserve it. It just gives people who score. Just score. Doesn't matter how they go in, as long as they go in. Harvey Barnes and Isak scored for Newcastle, off assists from Kelly and Murphy. On the other side, it was an own goal by Dan Burn, and the assist was given to Ben Johnson. Spurs are a very tricky team. They just do not seem like they're able to keep a clean sheet. And so if the defenders are not giving you returns for like Romero or Porro, it's really tough to recommend the defenders. They were so wasteful in front of goal, and they only have themselves to blame. From a fantasy perspective, Harvey Barnes, Isak, and even Kelly surprised me. Those 3 look really good. I wouldn't give up on Gordon yet. He had returns last week, but Harvey Barnes is emerging as a real prospect. From the Spurs side, Son was Son, and still looking like one of the best people from that team. Maddison is also looking good, and somebody who surprised me is this guy, Odobe, formerly of Burnley. He's very lively and he had chances. Spurs had chances, but he looks like he will be somebody who will surprise you with a hat-trick. He's really shifty, he's hard to guard, he is a difficult opponent to come against, and he's always moving and always creating chances. Isak had the 3 bonus points, Burns had 2, and Son had 1. Even though Newcastle won, they're still not an impressive side. There's just something missing. Well, they're getting the results, so that's good for them. They're like a more successful Man U, if that example makes sense. The most entertaining game of the weekend also happened to be the highest scoring game of the weekend. Bournemouth 3, Everton 2. There's been a small theme this weekend, and that theme has been take your chances. Football is a 90-plus minute game. All that matters is winning. For 85 minutes of that encounter, Everton were the best team on the pitch. 85. They lost that game 3-2. They were leading 2-0, looked comfortable, but somehow they snatched defeat from the jaws of victory. They couldn't even salvage a draw, and they could even have lost 4-5-2. Pickford made incredible saves towards the end. Not only that, they missed some easy chances at the beginning. Calvert-Lewin and Keane put them ahead. Calvert-Lewin had an assist, and McNeil had the other assist. And everything was looking good. I was even thinking, oh, is it time to bring in Pickford back? Little did I know. Cook, Semenyo, and Sinisterra scored, with assists from Kluivert, Dango, and Sinisterra. It's like they just figured something out and then they just exploited it. I swear football at an elite level is just about figuring out where you're weak and then just punishing you there. The more I watch football, sometimes I just realize it's mostly just about making the other team make mistakes. And that's where you find so many people pressuring defenders. Because traditionally, defenders aren't technical enough, especially when you get at this level. Everton defenders, with the amount of experience they have, it's quite shocking that they capitulated in the way that they did. Even in spite of the loss, Calvert-Lewin still got the 3 bonus points, Sinisterra got 2, and McNeil had 1. Early on in the Gameweek 1 preview, I was talking about Sinisterra, and I'm happy that this is coming true. From a fantasy perspective, the most disappointing games were Arsenal 1, Brighton 1. 1, especially because Saka didn't get points, because I know most Arsenal people have Saka. And then 2, the rest of us, no clean sheet. And that red card really changed the game. Was it a red card? Who knows? But Veltman did a good job of convincing everybody that it was. So that's how it goes. Havertz scored, and he's still looking like a good prospect. If Wood and Isak didn't score for me, he'd be somebody I'd be considering bringing in. For Brighton, João Pedro scored, and he has scored 2 games in a row now. Minte had the assist. Minte is impressive. I think he'll be somebody I move into. João Pedro got the 3 bonus points, followed by Havertz with 2 and Saka with 1. Both of these sides remain unbeaten. Another disappointing result is Ipswich 1, Fulham 1. If you're a Fulham holder, you believe that this game would be one where you get a clean sheet and that Emil Smith-Rowe would do the business. But, just like I said, it would be Traore. Not in the way that I thought it would be, but he did perform, and he got the goal. On the Ipswich side, Rory Delap's son, Liam, got a really good goal, a beautiful run and a powerful shot. Davis, who was the Doughty from last season, he is their Doughty. He had the assist, and he could be somebody to watch if this trend of defense not keeping clean sheets continues. Just a defender who will provide something of value. And on the other side, Robinson is such a defender. He had the assist for Adama's goal. Adama had the 3 bonus points, Davis had 2, and Delap had 1. Man City 3, West Ham 1. Haaland had a hat-trick. I have just finished talking about how it's about making defenders make a mistake. Paqueta made a mistake, Haaland 1 goal. In fact, this weekend was just riddled with mistakes. It's not just the Southamptons and the Ipswiches that make mistakes. West Ham was making mistakes as well. Manchester United, Casemiro giving the ball away. When you're playing top teams like Man City, you have to have a near-perfect game just to be competitive because they are so ruthless. Haaland's goals all looked like he could do that again and again. It all looked replicable. He seems just like a well-oiled machine. He is starting the season off greatly. Him and Salah now have 41 points each. Haaland had 3 goals. Bernardo Silva had an assist. Lewis had an assist. And Mateus had an assist. Haaland obviously got the 3 bonus points. Bernardo got 2 and Lewis got 1. Moving into the stats, let's just start with Haaland. First of all, Haaland was the most captained player this weekend with 48.07, followed by Palmer, 12.34, followed by Salah, 12.06. Haaland's goals so far are the joint most a player has ever scored in a team's first 3 Premier League matches of a season. The last person who did this was Edin Dzeko in 11-12. Haaland has now scored 69 goals in 69 Premier League games. Haaland is 24 and he has 24 career hat-tricks. That hat-trick now makes it his 8th hat-trick and he's in great company with Henry and Michael Owen and Harry Kane. Those are legends of the Premier League. He is already a Premier League legend. When he gets his 9th one, it will be with Robbie Fowler. He'll be tied. Then Shearer has 11 and Aguero has 12. It's looking like he might even get there by the end of this season. It's ridiculous. Since Haaland joined the Premier League, he is now only 6 goals behind Everton's total goals. By that I mean, Everton have scored 76 goals since Haaland joined, and he has 70. He is the first player to score back-to-back hat-tricks in the first 3 games of a Premier League season. It was last done 30 years ago by Paul Jewell. The thing that surprises me most about Haaland is all the hate he receives. People are always quick to minimize it, but no one else is doing it. It's an easier time to play, it's an easier time to score, but why is he the only one doing it? Why weren't all the strikers before him doing it? Haaland is now the 68th highest goal scorer in Premier League history, and he has done it in 69 games. He has 70 goals, and that ties him with Eric Cantona, who got there in 156 games. Below him is Kevin Nolan, who was a great goal scorer for his position. He got 69 goals in 401 games. Even the mighty Luis Suarez, who is number 70, got 69 goals in 110 games. Haaland and Salah are enjoying historic starts to the Premier League season. They each have 41 points, which are the joint highest. The next one is Mikel Antonio, who had 40 in 21-22, and Wayne Rooney in 2011-2012. He had 38. Speaking of Salah, he takes his all-time record against Manchester United to 127 points in 14 appearances. He has scored at Old Trafford for the 7th match in a row. Since 2021, only 4 players have scored more goals at Old Trafford than Mohamed Salah. Those players are Rashford, Bruno, McTominay, and Ronaldo. Since 21-22, more Liverpool players have scored a brace at Old Trafford than Man United players in the first half of a game. Only Ronaldo has done that so far. Of course it will change, but currently that's what it is. Like I said a little earlier, Everton were leading 2-0 at the 85th minute and then lost 3-2. It has only happened once before in the history of English football. January 26th, 1889, when Bolton came back to defeat Blackburn Rovers when they scored 3 goals in the 90th minute. That is over 100 years ago. So it's safe to say that's the latest ever winning comeback in the Premier League, of course. Everton don't really score in the first month of the Premier League, so scoring 2 was actually an improvement. Also, they lost their 3 opening games last season, so August isn't a good month for Everton. Delap scored the goal which gave Ipswich a 1-1 tie. That is Ipswich's first point since 2002. Delap wasn't even born. Arsenal's red card for Declan Rice was the 17th red card that Arsenal have received under Arteta. Just to put that into context, number 2 since Arteta joined Arsenal is Burnley. They have 7. If you remember how I was saying Spurs were dominant in the Newcastle game, let me just put this into context. In the first 3 games, they have had 48 shots. 48. They only have 1 win to show for that. Liverpool are the only team not to concede a goal so far this season. Ollie Watkins is on a 6-game goal drought. Only City and Arsenal have won more away games than Aston Villa in 2024. Southampton have gone 15 games without a win in the Premier League. This dates back to the last time they were in the Premier League. City have not lost a Premier League game in 2024. Random stat for Haaland. He averages a goal every 80 minutes. Number 2 is Suarez. He averaged a goal every 138 minutes. For the third season in a row, Bournemouth have had an incredible comeback. This year so far, the one against Everton. Last season, you will remember the 4-3 game against Luton, which was beautiful. And the year before, they came back to defeat Nottingham Forest 3-2. They really know how to save their best for last. Or maybe it should be called the Never Say Die Award. Now, something interesting is that Bournemouth have joined a list of clubs that have won a Premier League game when they were trailing heading into the 90th minute. This is the 10th time that this has happened in the Premier League. Half of them have happened in the last 2 years. And of course, also, if you pay a close attention, you will remember that also in the last 2 years, that's when they did this thing of additional time, which can go up to like 10 minutes. In case you're wondering, the latest turnaround win is when Chelsea scored the equalizer in the 99th minute and then went on to defeat Manchester United 4-3 last season. Mason Mount had a big part to play in that game, if you remember. In the FPL world at large, Gameweek 3 saw the 7th highest number of wildcards deployed, with 656,000 people using their wildcard. People have decided that they must bring Haaland and Salah into their teams. Triple Captain was the second most popular chip used, and was activated by 186,000. I hope they used them on Salah and Haaland and not Palmer. Having said that, Palmer and Madueke were the top 3 recruits that were brought in after their performance in Gameweek 2. And that wasn't a great showing for them, I'm sorry for all of you. But there's still quite a few games left to play, and the next few games are much more winnable. The top 3 recruits were Madueke, Palmer, and Smith Rowe. And Smith Rowe did nothing as well. Welbeck was also another one who was brought in, did nothing as well. So it wasn't a good time to bring in these players. But hopefully, in the next few weeks, they will make it back. In spite of him scoring, Isak is the top most transferred player out, followed by Watkins, then Vardiol, Saka, and Gordon. Isak has been removed by 405,000 people, Watkins 288. The most brought in player for this next game week is João Pedro, followed by Luis Diaz, Haaland, Onana, and then Lewis. And all of those make sense. The highest points gotten this week was 130 points. The average was 65. So if you got above 65, well done. Looking at the team that had 130 points, they had Salah as triple captain, which gave them 51 points. Then Bumo had 14, Eze had 10, Semenyo had 6, Haaland had 17, Wissa had 8, João Pedro had 8. Virgil had 5, White had 2, Pinnock had 1. And then keeper was Alisson, which gave them 8 points, for a total of 130 points. Well done. They lost 16 points, but if you lose 16 and get 130, it's not too bad. Much better than the other guy who lost 72 points to get 112. They had triple captained Mr. Haaland for 51. Watkins got 5 for him. Raul Jimenez got 1. Ahmad Diallo got 1. Onana had 9. Luis Diaz 15. Palmer 6. Cucurella 2. Virgil 5. White 2. Raya 2. These are good players. He made a good choice. Congratulations to you. Tosh FC, managed by James Victor. Like I said, I would really like to interview you guys. So please fill in the survey that's on the highlight, or please inbox me with your team name and your contacts. So if you're the weekly leader, I would like to talk to you. Looking at our table, we had 19 players who got over 90 points. After the 99, we had 97, 97, 97, 95, 95, 94. Talk about height. One of those players who got over 90 points, he actually got 97. Oh, I don't know what TK is. TK got 97 points, which makes TK our leader this game week. So, for the first 3 game weeks, we have had 3 different leaders. TK, manager of Sui, got 97 points, which puts him at the top with 263, which is about just a 9-point gap between TK and number 2, Franklin Asiema. Franklin got 87, which puts them at 254. Number 3 is Arnold Midunga, last week's leader, got 76 points, puts them at 252. Mato FC Matinasawe got 93 points, and they have 251 points. Number 5, Amos Langat, Playboy Fatty, got 81 points, 250. Nabil Assad has 247 points. MK has 246. Antoine Koila has 245. Escobar Season, 244. And at number 10, we have James Victor, 244. Between number 1 and number 10 is just 19 points. Between number 10 and number 20 is just 6 points. Between number 20 and number 30 is just 4 points. Between number 30 and number 50 is just 10 points. So basically, number 1 to 50 is very tight. The separations that will form have not yet formed, and there are going to be many position changes, but the gaps will start to build as we go forward. So, as TK is number 1, they are officially Manager of the Month for August. Congratulations, TK. I'll be looking to try and get either TK or James Victor if they've signed up. At least Manager of the Month or Weekly Leader. I feel like that either one is a good compromise, or both if possible. So if you know either of them, please send them my way. Apart from that, I hope you have a great week. Take care. Bye.